Many of you guys just got your Oculus Quest 2 recently, and it's probably even been your first time in VR in general. So here are some tips that you should never do with your Oculus Quest 2 and also just VR in general. Yes, I got these tips online with the help of many videos and research I've done online, and plus some are just from my own that I just thought about. Don't leave your Oculus Quest 2 charging all night. It's probably not a good idea just to leave it charging there the whole time. Will it hurt your Oculus Quest 2? Probably not, but we all kind of know what happened with the Samsung phone some years back and with the hoverboard about it going on fire and all that kind of stuff. I know that doesn't have to do with the charging stuff, but you always want to be careful with this kind of stuff, especially with it having a different battery type than others. But I'm going to be talking about that later. So let's move on to the next one, which is be careful with your Oculus Quest 2 lenses, or with any lenses for that matter. You want to protect it with something like this, which comes with like when you buy a silicone cover, which I've covered in different videos that I suggest you guys buy, by the way. And so yeah, anyway, this thing comes with it. You make sure you use this, cover it up so it doesn't get all dusty. Plus, or at least especially if you're traveling, you want to make sure you have these on. And I also have this extra little thing. This thing right here, which completely covers it. So in case this is not enough, I always have, this barrier. Definitely protect my lenses at 100%. Fortunately, I didn't have any accidents with my Oculus Quest 2 lenses. Nothing happened to them, never a scratch or never anything like that, so that's good. But something I had frequently happened, and something I'm sure that happened to all of you guys, is that it gets dusty and then you have to clean the lenses somehow. Do not clean your lenses with a shirt like this or with a rag. Instead, you guys want to use a microfiber cloth, all right? I got some links down below in the description for some you can check out. Make sure you use this. You probably have one for like if any of you guys have glasses and that kind of stuff. But this is actually a cool hack because once you clean it with this, it makes the Quest 2 lenses a lot more clear, and it's like you got them new pretty much, if that makes sense. Just try it out. It makes it a lot more clear, a lot more crisp, and it's really cool. Now, still on the topic of lenses, do not rest your Quest 2 on your forehead. And so that means like if you're on the Quest, right? And then if someone comes in or just get arrested for a second, don't do this. But I do this thing a lot, but I shouldn't do it because in fact it gets all my lenses dirty because you probably don't realize how much oil we have in our hair that can get all into the Quest 2 lenses, and it makes it dirty. And then you have to sit there and clean it with the microfiber cloth. And that gets really tedious, and it could, not saying, I mean, there's a really low chance, but you could scratch it somehow. Now here's an obvious one, still on the topic of lenses actually. A lot of these things have to do with lenses, but never have your Quest 2 or any VR headset for that matter in direct sunlight. I hope many of you guys know this already, but if you don't, then you should know that you shouldn't have your lenses in direct sunlight. These lenses are basically like magnifying glasses. If you guys remember using magnifying glasses when you're like in school and you try to kill an ant with it, at least that's what I do. Yeah, these things can heat up and it can ruin your lenses, leaving you with some big marks. I never had that happen to me, fortunately, and I don't want that happening for you either because it's probably not even under the warranty. Now, this tip is especially for Oculus users. I suggest you guys buying a facial interface like this one. Like I talked about earlier, this is a silicone one. And first, it makes the Quest 2 a lot more comfortable. And so it makes it a lot more enjoyable to play with. But second, most importantly, is that you guys can take this thing off and clean it. So if you have guests over or if you have friends you wanna share the Quest 2 with, then definitely clean this thing and remove it for like one friend and then put it on for another friend. Especially with this situation. We all know what situation is going on right now. So yeah, especially with that situation, you wanna make sure you have a facial interface which you can clean. But this silicone one is really comfortable, and I suggest you guys getting this one, and you guys can get 10% off with the code DIAMOND. But I know lots of you guys have the ceiling fan right on top of you, so you just really want to watch out for that so you don't have a bath of blood. If you guys ever get motion sick, then make sure you stop playing VR.
Stop it. Get some help.
Rest for a second and sit down and just sit out. Take your time out. You definitely don't want to be playing over the motion sickness. That's not going to do you any well. Now, something that will help you guys not get motion sickness is having a fan that is directed towards you so your body can just kind of orientate, if that makes sense. And also having a mat right under your feet. If you guys like some cool hacks like that, then I have a whole video about that. Make sure you go check it out over here. You're probably gonna like it if you like these little hacks. And speaking about a fan, you might as well get it because there's actually a possibility of your Quest 2 and I guess any VR headset to overheat. So you want to keep your room cool and like don't have it in a really hot environment, especially if you feel it like getting warm after a couple of hours of use. Yeah, just want to be careful. You don't want to drain your battery to 0. I know that's kind of a weird thing, but you don't want to actually drain it to 0 or have it all the way up to 100, because the Quest 2 has a lithium battery, which basically it's kind of sensitive for when it goes all the way down to 0, and you know, to when it gets all the way up to 100. So you want to keep it in the middle range, if that makes sense. Because if you keep on draining the battery out to 0 like I do a lot, then over time it will definitely hurt your battery, and it will, you know, slowly kind of ruin it, and your Quest 2 death date will just come sooner and sooner. I recommend not turning off Guardian. I know it can get really annoying having it there in this big old huge barrier, but trust me, it does actually really help, because you don't realize how much you move in VR, how much you can risk whacking your hand against a wall or against your computer or anything like that. So don't turn it off unless you have like a mat and you can and a lot of space, so you know exactly what you're doing and what's going on. Now, yes, I think this is probably one of the only tips that has to do it specifically with the Oculus Quest 2. Sorry guys, there's just a lot of stuff that was really generic, but here's one specifically for the Oculus Quest 2 and Quest. I don't recommend going on side quests and going to the settings and just turning everything up, like all the texture, default size, you know, all that kind of stuff. I don't recommend turning all the way up. I do have a video right here talking about Quest 2, side quest, and what settings you guys should turn up. And subscribe to my channel, Diamond.